In this video, I would like to give a small walkthrough on how to connect to Postgres SQL from Anypoint Studio 7.10. It should be compatible with lower versions as well. So before going this, let me give an overview of my Postgres SQL database. In my Postgres SQL, I have a database called as movies, and there are a couple of tables which is directors and movies. Here I am going to concentrate only on the select statement. The main aim of this demo is to connect to the Postgres SQL and what are the configurations which are required and just get the information from a table. So this is the query which I'll be using, where it will give the output. Only 3 records have inserted just for the demo purpose, and these will be displayed. So coming back to Anypoint Studio, let me create a small Mule project. Here, let me give it as PGSQL demo. Okay, finish it. So here I would drag a HTTP listener because we would be calling it from the Postman, and as well we will configure this connector as well. So I would leave everything to default, only the base path I'm going to apply it as API, which I usually do for all my applications or the demo applications. And here in the path, I would give PG SQL demo. Okay, Postgres SQL demo. So, and let me give a backslash. So my listener is configured. Let me save it. And now let me come to database. So here database, we have many of the database types, activities types like delete, update, or insert. So what I would do is like at the moment I would go with a select query. Okay, so I'm adding a select. Now once the information comes from the database, I need to transform that information as a JSON. That is one of my achieved targets. So in my I'm going to add a transformation message. Okay, and this I'm going to change it to JSON, and I'm going to specify as payload. Okay, so as well as I'm going to add a logger just after this, which would help me to debug the application. Let me save. So basic skeleton is done. Now if I come to database select activity, I can see there is a configuration, connector configuration, which is required to be connected. Along with that, if you see the advanced, here is where it clearly specifies where the output will come. So right now it is coming as a payload. I'm not going to change anything on that. Okay, so let us go back to the general tab over here, which requires the connectors. So since this is my first time, I'm going to configure newly, and when I configure here, let me expand this view so that it will be more clear. Okay, so in the connection type, there are many connection types like Derby, generic, Microsoft SQL Server, MySQL. But here we don't see any information about the Postgres SQL. So that would be the reason I would take as a generic connection. So generic connections is basically with the JDBC drivers. So how do we get the JDBC information for Postgres? So when I click on Maven, when I click on configure, I have two options: either use a local file or add the Maven dependency. So I'll just walk you through the Maven dependency today, and using local file should be pretty simple. However, let me open the use local file window. Here I can see this will open up a, a window where I can select the jar file. So this jar file can be downloaded from Maven repositories and then accessed over here. However, there is much simpler way which can be done. So I would like to go to Maven dependency. So Maven dependency, all we require is this dependency information. The rest would be done by Anypoint Studio and nothing else to be done. So before we configure that, let me walk you through how to get that information or Maven dependency details. So in my Google, I have given a small search condition which says like Maven Postgres SQL. So here, MVN repository, that is a Maven repository, is where we get all the information about the repository. So let me open it, and here we have various versions of connections. However, we can see the usages are 108 over here, so it looks like it's a successful one. Let me click on that and let me select, and the information is copied to clipboard now. So let me come back to the studio. In studio, I am going to paste it. So nothing more needs to be done. When I click finish, Anypoint Studio is going to install that information. Let me check if it is installed properly. Let me paste it once again. Finish. Okay. So just to make sure, let me give OK over here. Let me come back to my POM XML to see if plugin information is added. You can see there is a plugin information about the Postgres, and as well as uh, Postgres dependency information which has been inserted. Fine, super. So now let's come back to that select, and we again edit the configuration over here. Let me expand. Now the important information what we need to give is about the URL and the driver class name, username and password. Username and password are pretty straightforward, which is basically the database which you want to connect. But how about the URL? What is the information it requires? So in one of the sites, I was able to find some information, a handy information. Here it also provides, this is one of the base which I was able to create the database Postgres SQL. You can even check this link if you need. However, here there is one place where it specifies the URL driver class name. These two are the information which is important. So how do I get this information about the local host and port number? So if I come back to my Postgres SQL, I click on my Postgres SQL, and here I go to properties and the connection panel, and here is what it specifies: what is the host name, what is the port, and what is the username. Okay, so I'm going to just copy the I'm going to go to let's navigate back to the browser, and here I would copy this information, come back to studio, enter here. So what is my database name? Okay, so my database name is movies. So let me change this to movies. Okay, driver name. So let me copy it again from this website. So username, let us go back to the Postgres pg admin. So this is the username. Let's save it, and of course password. Okay, now let's test the connection. This would fail. Yes, the reason is, if you see, let me again test the connection. If I see the details over here, it is telling, if you see this error, fatal, database movies does not exist. Of course, there I have the movies over here. It looks like by the defect, by the error, M is caps over here, and in mine, M is not caps in the test connection. So let me close this. I will change it to caps, and let us test the connection. So the connection was successful. Now let's click OK. Let's come back to the message flow. Okay. Now, however, now I need to give the query. Okay, so let me come back to the Postgres SQL, cancel it. This is the query which I'll be using. I'm not going to add any parameters or anything at the moment for the demo because the demo is basically intended for just to retrieve connectivity and basic retrieval information. So let me save it, and now let us execute this one. Before that, this is my PGSQL demo is my URL information. Okay, let's run in the debug mode and let's add a breakpoint uh, here. While the setup is running, let me go to the Postman. I'm going to create a new one. Okay, so I'll copy basically, okay, HTTP sorry, slash local host colon 8081 slash API. This is the base URL what I had given, and this is my path. Okay, fine. I'm going to give a get because I'm only just passing the information. Proceed with the debug. So let me see in the console. Yes, it is deployed now. So let us go to the Postman and send a request, and let's come back to the studio. And in the studio, yes, there is a request. There is a request from the Postman. So let's proceed. This is the point where it interacts to the database. The connection is established. So let's go to the next palette. So if I see the payload, yes, there are size 3. That means there are 3 records. But to be more clear, let us move to the next uh, to the logger. So now the payload, you can see here we have the information. Okay, let's proceed and let's see the output in the Postman. So this is the output. That means successfully it is able to connect to the Postgres SQL and as well as retrieve the data. Please do comment and subscribe. Thank you.